Arc 7 Chapter 39 Viciousness. Kohuma's lips twisted in hatred as he looked out through a large hole in the wall of the hall. He looks down at the building below him, where the three men who had managed to escape from the hall, fuming in the wind, have disappeared. The fugitives are nowhere to be seen. A cracked beam grumbled noisily, but it was too far away to hope that the shards would crush the rude people. Kohuma, we can't let them get away at all costs. Avenge your disrespect for His Excellency a broken bar. Olbold, oh come on, that's not right. They're using everything they have to get through this. It wouldn't make any sense for us to disrespect them. Kohuma, Master Olbold won. He was stopped in his tracks as he tried to chase the fugitive, and Kohuma looked back at him with gritted teeth. The diminutive old man cowered in the face of his gaze, saying, "Oh, scary." Seeing his reaction, Kohuma's eyes grew even sharper and angrier. Kohuma, why did you let them go in the first place? If you wanted, you could have seized them in the blink of an eye. Olbold, that's an opinion that's going to come back to haunt you, too. And I didn't cut corners too much either. The young man in the helmet was doing some strange tricks. Kohuma, a broken bar. I got the impression he wasn't as young as he looked. Olbold, I'll leave it at that. Most of them look like waddling kids to me. Actually, I've been an old man since you were born. Pointing at himself, Olbold's wrinkled face twisted into a smile. Kohuma was about to make another reference to his carefree attitude, when Olbold continued, and, he added, you may have forgotten, Olbold, you may have forgotten, but I have to be on the lookout for that fox girl over there, don't I? You never know when she might turn on you. Kohuma, General Yoranu, a broken bar. You're right, I was rash. Olbold, kaka, as long as you get it. When pointed out, Kohuma sagged down as if ashamed of himself for getting blood on his head at the exchange between the young man and the old man. Yorana, who was treated as a dangerous person by name, put her hand over her eyes and said, Your Honor, what a painful story. I have never been humiliated like this. A broken bar before. Kohuma, how dare you a broken bar talk like that? Kohuma's anger was directed at Your Honor as she was mimicked crying and taunted, but Your Honor chuckled at his gaze, and gently lowered her hand to her eyes. She brought the pipe to her mouth, filled her lungs with purple smoke, and let out a big puff. Then she exhaled a large puff of smoke, the smoke wavering as it made its way to the large hole in the wall. When the fluttering purple smoke reached the hole, it created an amazing change. It was as if it were a vision, a scene of a destroyed wall slowly being repaired. The collapsed walls of the red Drury castle, the wood used in the damaged areas, wriggled and mended like the wounds of a living creature healing. It was a building repair, but it was a strange and unearthly one that gave the impression of being more living than inorganic. At the unrealistic sight, Kohuma, who was standing by the wall, dropped and looked back at Your Honor, her cheeks tense. Now you're all back to normal. A broken bar, thank you, Lord, for putting me in a good mood. Kohuma, this is General Your Honor's. Olbold, this is the reason why you can't mess with the Demon City. A broken bar, although this woman's danger is not limited to that. Kohuma gasped as Your Honor finished repairing the outer wall and smiled, making a supple smile. His shiver was complemented by Vincent, who hadn't even flinched during the earlier commotion. The man at the top of the empire glanced at the wall, then focused on Your Honor. They're out of the castle, so you and I have fulfilled the conditions you laid out. Your Honor, so, yes, if that is the case, it would be somewhat unseemly for us to contradict their efforts. I hope you understand that, sir. Your Honor, of course, you have your own ideas. I respect that, but don't forget the Lord of the Demon City, Your Honor Misiga, who hadn't even bothered to correct her posture against the Emperor from beginning to end, laughed and said, Your Honor, this is the Devil's City, my city. Even the Blue Boy's sword cannot reach us. That declaration may be appropriate for the Lord of the Demon City, but it is inappropriate to say it to the Emperor. For the Emperor of Vollica, who dares to rule the Empire universally, to act as if her control over even a single city is superior is more than just disrespectful. However, Your Honor Misiga's words were not to be denied. This is because everyone knows that her words are true, regardless of whether they are right or wrong. In this magical city of chaos frame, Your Honor Misiga possesses absolute power. Therefore, Vincent, I'll give you one night. If that was considered a defeat for Emperor Vollica, then that thing was too ignorant of his Emperor's deep recklessness. On the other hand, it was not easy for anyone close to the Emperor to see the intrigues that lay deep within his dark eyes. I can only trust that Vincent's words will not be mistaken for reason. Your Honor, thank you. That will give me time to examine the replies to my letters. With Vincent's permission, Your Honor replied, her attitude and expression not showing the slightest hint of shyness. Both Kohuma and Olbold, his bodyguards, have their own opinions about Your Honor's attitude, but the reason why they allowed Your Honor to do that was their own fault for letting those three escape. Now that Vincent had admitted it, there was nothing to be gained by rehashing it. Kohuma, but your attitude is unseemly. I will say it again and again myself. Your Honor, I can't stop shaking if you look at me so fearfully. Master Olbold, can you do something about it? Olbold, are you trying to start a fire on me? I'm an old man with a short life ahead of him, and it's the duty of the younger generation to be gentle with him. Maybe I've found the most powerful theory to get goodwill from most people. My time is coming. Kohuma, Master Olbold. Kohuma shouted in anger at Olbold's mischievous remark. Your Honor is laughing at the smoke coming from her pipe. Vincent's eyes narrowed as he watched the generals, and he made a small snorting sound. The Emperor then turned and looked at the last person accompanying him, who, unlike Kohuma and Olbold, had not made any more of a move than Vincent had. Vincent, you've been talking very little, haven't you? It's not like you. That's a broken bar. It's just that, well, some people are complicated when you meet them. It was a young man's voice with a wry smile. He was wearing a blue robe over his head to hide his face from the world, which was something he usually did, but the reason he was tightening the neck of his robe more than usual had to do with the guest who was present. The man sighs, and shrugs his head at the Emperor's silent stare. Boca, let's say you are a shellfish in this magical city. And the stars seem to want it, too. Vincent, the stars wish it? Nonsense. Nonsense? Shrugging, the man chuckled at Vincent's cutting words. With a chuckle, he continued, if you were serious about your disregard for the wishes of the stars, you wouldn't have come all this way, would you? Vincent, are you talking as if you know what's in my heart, you fool? Not at all, sir. Vincent crossed his arms and lowered his voice, and the man shrugged. Vincent then looks away from the man, the star-writer, and squints at the sky beyond the already blocked wall, where the three rebels have disappeared. And then a broken bar. Vincent, what the stars want is nonsense. And so, a murmur that no one could hear, whispered only in his mouth, disappeared. Natsumi, geez, Guy-ho, Iyo. I coughed in the dense dust, letting my lungs do their work desperately. His back ached from the forceful blow, and Subaru ran his hand over the affected area to check for injuries. There was no blood on his hand, and it seemed to be only a bruise. It was a miracle. There was a high possibility that the building materials of the destroyed building or the pieces of the collapsed beams would have pierced him or torn his vital blood vessels. What kind of luck was at work here? Natsumi. Oh, this is no time to be talking about a broken bar. Medium-san. Al. No, I'm here. A broken bar, and it hurts. Shaking my head, I quickly called out the names of the two people I was supposed to be with. Subaru hurriedly pushed them aside and pulled out the searchers. The buried medium coughs, Kohu, and blinks. Medium. Oh my god, I thought I was going to die. Is Natsumi-chan okay? Natsumi, I managed, thanks to the protection of Medium-san and Al. A broken bar. Medium-san, are you hurt? Do you have any pain anywhere? Medium. Oh, that tickles tilde. It's alright. I'm fine. When she checked Medium's shoulders and back, she wriggled and pushed back against Subaru's chest. She's not bluffing or lying. She doesn't seem to have any significant injuries either. It seems they've both been blessed with a hell of a lot of luck. Buta Natsumi, a broken bar looking for Al, who hadn't responded. Subaru scanned his surroundings. When the fumes finally subsided, Subaru and the others jumped into the stables in the sky. The building beside the Red Ruri Castle was apparently a warehouse for storing hay for the Gale horses. Subaru and the others who fell helplessly from the height were saved because of the hay that acted as a cushion. If it hadn't been for the hay, Subaru would have died as gruelly as a crushed tomato. Not only Rem, but in Volca, where healing magic is rare, there is a high probability that those who are badly injured will not survive. In that sense, the environment of the Empire is much more conducive to death than Lunica. Of course, there is also the view that the Empire's philosophy of the weak and the strong is too dangerous. Medium. There he is. Al-Chin, said Medium, moving to jump out of the way beside Subaru, who was looking around the dimly lit interior. She bent down beside a cart that had been flipped over by the impact of the fall. Three of them, loaded with a large amount of hay, had fallen in a tangled heap, and something was stirring underneath them. Subaru hurriedly rushed over, and he and Medium shoveled through the dry grass. Eventually, a thick arm appeared from under the grass, and the two of them pulled it up. And then Al, ouch, can you get my right arm too? Natsumi, that's not funny. Medium, but Al-Chin's still alive. That's great. I scolded Al for his unfunny joke, but was relieved to hear Medium's words. Al was pulled out of the haystack, and he looked terrible. Unlike Subaru and the others, who miraculously escaped with only bruises and scratches, Al's entire body was covered in lacerations and blue bruises. The thorns of the Kahuma, and even if only temporarily, held Orpold in place. At the end, when he jumped on Subaru and the others, he was also in a position to be easily pursued by the enemy. Each wound he received was a wound that Subaru and the others should have received. Natsumi. Hey Al, what's the matter? Brother, a broken bar. You're looking spicy. Natsumi. It's a broken bar. Al, no rope bungee for my life. It's like a miracle that we all survived. It's a shame for a swordsman. While rolling his shoulders in a languid manner, Al spoke encouragingly to Subaru. Subaru choked up at his attitude, then quickly nodded. I guess so, although Al is aloof and acts as if everything is someone else's problem. His efforts in the battle so far are all due to his sincerity to Subaru. He sympathized with Subaru's cause and promised to lend a helping hand. To that end, the man who was even willing to fight for his life was Al. Natsumi, I was wrong about you. A broken bar. Al. Natsumi, I thought that you were always aloof and random, and that you had an unreliable personality that was unserious about everything. Al. Oh, come on, Natsumi, but you risked your life for me. I'll never forget that. I put my hand on my fake chest and tell Al of my genuine determination. Without him, Natsuki Subaru at this moment would not have survived. So, from now on, Natsuki Subaru will fight without forgetting the favor he received from Al, even if his life would end in the next memento broken bar. Medium. Natsumi-chan. Al, if you're too slow, you'll end up in a broken bar. Natsumi. Yes, I know. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. If I don't, Al's sacrifice will be in vain. Al, it's not a sacrifice. Subaru, who wiped his face with his sleeve, responded forcefully, urged by Medium. It's not for nothing that the three of us have been saved, but it's not enough for us to be relieved. We can say that we fulfilled the conditions that Your Honor and Vincent offered us, but we don't know if that will make Kohuma and Oswald back off. Until we know that for sure, we have to stay alive. Natsumi, we need to leave now. We'll hide ourselves and get the answer over there. A broken bar. Question mark. No need to worry about that, sir. Natsumi. Huh? I lent my shoulder to Al and was about to walk out when I heard a voice. Startled by this, his hand falls away, and Al, who was lending him his shoulder, flips over and screams. Gosh. Al, who was lending me his shoulder, flipped over and screamed. But I don't have time to worry about him. Standing at the entrance to the stables, I have to confront the figure looking at us. Natsumi, you are a broken bar. Danza, I am sorry for the delay in greeting you. My name is Danza, squire of Your Honor Misagiosama. The person who said that and bowed fully was a person with a distinctive kimono and deer antlers. The deer person girl who was beside Your Honor. The girl, whose name was Danza, slowly looked up and confronted Medium, who stood in front of her as if protecting Subaru and the others, shaking her head. Danza, don't be alarmed. It's fine. I will not harm any of you. Medium, really? But we've already destroyed the walls between here and the castle. Danza, the castle and stables will be fixed by Your Honor-sama. Your Honor-sama has accepted you as her messengers. No one can touch you now, Danza added, relieving Medium's anxiety. The corner of Medium's eyebrows lowered in relief at her words, but Subaru's impression was the exact opposite. Aside from the fact that Your Honor was going to fix the walls and stables, the problem was beyond that. Danza, you came out, not letting anyone mess with you. We both know that it was the Emperor who was there, don't we? Subaru stood next to her, not dressed for the occasion, protected by Medium's back. Danza's grey eyes stared at Subaru as he stepped forward. She has a pretty face, but her emotions don't come out in the open. To be Kopuro, charm should be a must, but her behavior reminds me of a doll. Natsumi, we do more than a little harm to the Emperor. A broken bar, and you think your people will let that go? Are you saying that Your Honor-sama made you do this? Danza, yes, no one can stand against Lord Your Honor in this magic city, and I'm sure Vincent-sama knows that. Natsumi, oh, a broken bar. Danza's answer, plainly but with absolute certainty. Hearing this, Subaru swallowed the words he was about to continue and was taken aback. He then looked up at the ceiling of the stables that Subaru and the others had breached, and confirmed that there was no movement in the Red Rory Castle. If he had the impression of a short time, Kohuma would have followed them right away. Natsumi, not even a broken bar that. Apparently, I can believe it. Danza, Vincent-sama will be leaving as well. You'll get the reply to your letter tomorrow. Natsumi, a broken bar, yes, sir. Danza, well, have a safe trip home. After receiving Subaru's sighing reply, Danza bowed and turned his back to the three of them. She must have done the bare minimum of her work and returned to Your Honor. As she walks away, Subaru stops her and says, Mr. Danza. Danza stops and looks back at him, while staring at her motionless face like a doll. Natsumi, what kind of person is Your Honor-sama to you? The reason why I asked is because I can't have any proof of Your Honor's thoughts about us, as long as she didn't know he was a fake. The way she treated Vincent should be the same as the way she treated Abel, the Emperor. The reason for this attitude is unclear, although I think it would be unreasonable to overlook this behavior, which is beyond disrespectful and rude, just because she is a powerful person. What is it that Your Honor has for Abel? Affection or enmity? In addition to the fact that Shay urged Subaru and the others to struggle, it's hard to know what's in her heart. Hence A. Natsumi, I want to hear what the person beside her has to say. What is your impression of Your Honor Misagasama? Danza, she is a loving person. She loves her friends and hates her enemies. A lover of all things living in the magical city. Natsumi, Danza replied without hesitation, and for the first time, a hint of emotion passed through her eyes. It was the first time that a hint of emotion flashed through Danza's eyes. Unable to continue, he could only watch the girl's back as she walked away. If I had to say whether I had gotten the answer I wanted, I would say that I had not. It only deepened my inexplicable impression of Your Honor. Danza's words were not false. However, it was hard to believe that she was affectionate. Ever since they arrived in the magic city, Subaru and his friends had been at the mercy of the world. Oh my god, it's gone. A broken bar, what about us? Natsumi, we have no choice but to go back to a broken bar. For now, we have to trust Danza's word and wait for his reply tomorrow. In the stables where Danza had disappeared, I once again lent my shoulder to Al, who was slumped on his buttocks. While supporting his weight, Subaru looked up at the Red Rory Castle once again. Natsumi, an eye-catching and flashy castle. A broken bar, is this part of the extreme colors? As he muttered this, Subaru realized that what Danza had said earlier was true. The big hole in the castle tower, which was supposed to be a complex and mysterious castle with red and blue, had disappeared no matter how hard I looked. Well, that was coming. Natsumi, don't you have anything else to say? Sir, I'm sorry. Sorry. Crawling back to the inn, Abel was informed of the incident regarding the delivery of the letter, and his first words were met with a huge scowl from Subaru. But Abel, wearing a demon mask, pressed his palm on Subaru's forehead in an annoying manner and said, Abel, why do I have to apologize to you? You have done well. I was just about to praise you for your great deeds. Natsumi, I'll give you a compliment. I was going to praise you. The way you say it, you're talking down to me. I don't need praise. I was just doing what needed to be done. Hey, you too, Al, are you trying to jump the gun on us? Lashing out at the disgruntled Abel, a fiercely protesting Subaru called for backup, but Al, throwing his feet on the floor, waved his hand and said, give me a break. The net result was Al's best work of the day. He left Talitha to take care of the wounds all over his body, turning him into a bandaged man with bandages all over his body, with his black helmet and bandages all over his body. The surrealism of his outfit knows no bounds. Talitha, but I'm glad Natsumi and Medium are okay. I should have gone with them. I was so worried about them. Natsumi, see, You see, this is the right reaction. Why don't you follow Talitha-san's example as emperor and take over as chief? Talitha, please don't. I'll die. A broken bar. Talitha, who had been nominated as a role model, shook her head, her face turning pale. Her attitude is that she is afraid, but to Subaru, it is very regrettable. Isn't there anyone who can punish Abel? At times like this, I feel ashamed that I have to fight with someone else's loincloth. Louis, medium. Louis-chan, you can't do this. You see, Natsumi-chan and the others are in the middle of an important conversation. Louis, Subaru's thoughts were disturbed by a high-pitched scream coming from the next room. If you look, you can see Louis and Medium struggling at the door that leads to the next room. Of course, there was no way Louis could resist Medium. So it was like a wrestling match between an adult and a child. Soon, Louis is carried away and her figure disappears again into the other room. A broken bar. What the hell is going on here? Ever since you came back, you've been trying to jump on me. They don't even look at me. It's not that I want them to miss me. Buta broken bar too. Overhearing Subaru's sigh, Al, who has become as complete as a badly made Halloween, blurts out. Next to him, Talitha wipes her forehead in satisfaction. Her aesthetic sense is also quite good. He has found someone who can compete with Emilia and Beatrice. And once again, he misses them. No, it's not just the two of them that he missed. It's everyone across the border. It's been almost 20 days since Subaru was sent to Volika. As long as Beatrice and Ram are around, they know that Subaru and the others are safe and sound, but they can't give any more information, which only makes me itchy. I want to find a way to join up with Emilia and the others as soon as possible. Natsumi, and yet, this covered man doesn't even say anything important. A broken bar. Abel. HMPH. You can call me a covered man. If I'm covered, then what are you? What are you? A fool and a clown. Al, we're like a bad Halloween, aren't we? At Al's words and Abel's point, Subaru could only bite his teeth and say, geez. In fact, the three of them, Subaru dressed as a woman, Abel wearing a demon mask, and Al as a bandaged man in a helmet, look like participants in a costume party. In this chaotic frame where many different races come and go, they seem to be struggling to keep their individuality from being buried. Of course, Subaru's cross-dressing is for practical purposes, so it's not like that. Natsumi. Anyway, I was able to meet Yorana-san at the castle, but the Emperor's party and a broken bar, that was your shadow warrior, is that correct? Clapping his hands, Subaru forced himself to change the course of the conversation. He was careful to keep his voice loud enough so that others wouldn't hear him, but he wanted to hear exactly what he needed to hear. In response, Abel nodded with a devilish look on his face and said, yes, Abel, there are many who look like me, but if there is one who can embody me, there is only one. Shisha Gold. Natsumi, Shisha Gold. A broken bar, that's the 9 divine generals, isn't it? The white spider, I think. Abel, yes, it is. He's intelligent, and he's good at commanding large armies, and Al, and the one who betrayed Abel-chan in the first place. Abel silently affirmed as he crossed his arms on the bed in response to Al's last addendum. The 9 divine generals who betrayed him, the first one of them, the one Abel would have trusted. Natsumi, Shishu. A broken bar. What do you think the fake emperor came to this magic city for? Abel, he, too, understands the conditions for winning the battle against me. Natsumi, the one with more 9 divine generals on his side wins, right? Securing the 9 divine generals, the symbol of the Volika Empire's war potential, is the decisive key to victory or defeat. Subaru and the others had gone to the trouble of visiting the Chaos Frame in order to obtain that key. However, based on Abel's current answer, there was only one possible purpose. Natsumi. So, are they also trying to get Yorana Misigure on their side? Abel, that's unlikely. Yorana Misigure. A broken bar would not be so reckless as to think that she would listen to persuasion or negotiation. Natsumi. Then what are they doing here? Abel, it's obvious. That's what he's thinking when he thinks I'm coming to the Magic City. Hearing Abel's answer, Subaru couldn't make sense of it and a question mark appeared in his head. Al, equally confused, raised his hand and said, Abel-chan, Al, is the fake emperor over there really saying that he's read that Abel-chan is coming to Kazflame? If he's serious, we're in trouble. Abel, that thing can trace my thoughts with a high degree of accuracy. In addition, the destination of the flight from the throne, the flow of the attack on the castle city, and the placement of the 9 divine generals. A broken bar can naturally narrow down the key locations in the demon city. Natsumi, he knows that. A broken bar. No way. While processing Abel's words in an indifferent manner, Subaru huffed and opened his eyes. He then pointed a wagging, trembling finger at Abel, who was quietly looking at him. Natsumi, you've been reading about our meeting with the false emperor, haven't you? To avoid running into each other in person, you stayed behind at the inn. A broken bar. Abel. As if I did. What is the point of doing such a thing? If you unnecessarily reduce the number of pawns you have, you'll lose your chance to win even if you're a winning Shatranji. Natsumi. A broken bar. I think that's true, though. The only point that didn't make sense was that Abel would make a move that would be detrimental to himself. That's the biggest and only problem, and as long as we can't debunk that, there's literally no other way to dismiss Subaru's conspiracy theory about the evil Abel as a conspiracy theory. Natsumi. If that were the case, back to the topic at hand, what do you mean? The fake emperor knew that he couldn't get Yorana-san on his side. Still, he He showed up in the Demon City because you were coming. A broken bar. Abel, I made the first move and broke the peace between Vincent the Volliker and Yorna Misiga. Do you think that I, who showed up later, can easily climb up to the keep of Red Drury Castle? Al, that kind of a broken bar. What a cunning guy. Oi. Al nodded his head in agreement, and Subaru closed his eyes and agreed. Finally, Subaru understood Abel's intentions. In other words, Vincent's goal was to make Yoruna neither friend nor foe, but a floating invalid vote. To do so, he had personally gone to the castle and planned a decisive breakdown of the negotiations with the Emperor, Natsumi. So, if we had arrived a day later than we did at a broken bar, Abel, that would have been the plan. That's why I said it. It was a big deal. Natsumi, eyes staring blankly, Subaru looked at Abel. That means that the previous exchange was his way of showing his appreciation. If so, even a boss who is not good at praising his subordinates has his limits. At the very least, Abel's words of praise were more effective than his own. Natsumi, you did a great job, my dear. A broken bar. Alan. Medium-san. Al, oh, yeah, we worked hard. We did. Medium, yeah. Natsumi-chan's dare was really cool. The three of them, who had overcome death together and had become more united, praised each other. Unlike Abel, Subaru felt pity for Talitha, who was left out of the group. Natsumi, but there are many things I wish you had told me beforehand. For example, the fact that you think Yoruna-san hates you. Al, oh, I've been meaning to tell you that, too. Please, Abel-chan, it can't be helped that I was born a man of color. But if that's the case, please pay the handsome man tax. Abel, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, clown. And you've got the wrong idea. Natsumi, what do you mean, you don't know what you're talking about? The actual exchange between Yoruna and Vincent, however, was the fact that she was giving Abel a look of provocation and seduction. But when Abel sighed deeply at Subaru and Al's pursuit of Hima broken bar. Abel, it's not me that Yoruna Misiga has her heart set on, it's Emperor Volliker. Natsumi, a broken bar. So that's you, isn't it? You're not going to tell me now that you're actually the fake one and that the Emperor over there is the real Emperor, are you? For a moment, the suspicions that he had suspected at the Red Drury Castle were rekindled, and Subaru glared at him as if he were joking. That's ridiculous, Abel snapped. Abel, don't take it at face value. It is true that I am the Emperor of Volliker, but Emperor of Volliker does not only mean me. There have been Volliker Emperors in the past and in the future. Natsumi, that's a broken bar. Subaru rolled his eyes as Abel explained in crisp terms. Next to him, Al also let out a dumb ha. Al, so you're saying that Yoruna-chan is after Abel-chan's money and status? Abel, she won't go into details, but I'm pretty sure that's what she wants. What it wants is the Emperor. A broken bar. Volliker's favorite princess at the top of the empire. It doesn't have to be me. Natsumi, I feel sorry for a broken bar. You, don't I? Abel, don't take the liberty of pitying me with your own story. In a way, I guess you could call it a cut and dried love condition. It seems that Yoruna's goal is to become the Emperor's favorite princess. In other words, the Emperor's wife. Certainly, in that position, she can rule the empire both in terms of power and financial strength without becoming emperor. She said that ruling the Demon City Chaos Frame alone would not be enough to fill the greed of that beautiful foxman. Natsumi, now that you mention it, what did you write in your letter? Al, well, you're going to marry her off when you get here, aren't you? I think that would be the quickest way, and she's beautiful. Natsumi, I wonder if her beauty is enough to make up for the fact that she's hard to handle. A broken bar. If she was beautiful, she might be able to tolerate a bit of selfishness and bad character, but Subaru thinks there is a limit to that as well. Priscilla and Yoruna are undoubtedly beautiful, but I wouldn't want to take them as my wife. No matter how many lives I have, it won't be enough, and I'll have to spend many uncomfortable days. Abel, I'm not going to reveal the contents of the letter of intent, but I will not disappoint you. I can assure you of that. Natsumi, a guarantee is also only possible when there is trust. A broken bar. Oh no, let's not do that. It's no use saying it. And stop. Clapping his hands together, Subaru forced the tropic to end there. Abel looked at him disapprovingly when he saw the unconvincing resolution, but Subaru looked at Al and said, by the way, before bringing up a new topic, Natsumi, the 9 divine generals who were there. Orbold, you said? The vicious old man. Al, yeah, that's him. I've seen a lot of guys in my day, but this is one of the worst I've ever come across. Natsumi, do you think that old man has already been captured by his opponent? If that's the case, Arikia, Shisha, and the third person have already been taken. Of the 9 divine generals, the majority of them are the 5 that need to be suppressed. And yet, while Subaru and the others are still stumped on the first one, there are already 3 of the 9 divine generals over there. Natsumi, by the way, from what I've heard, that old man is the first one. I've heard that the old man is the leader of the group, and that he's also the leader of the group of 2, Miss Arikia, and the leader of the group of 4, Shisha. Al, they've got the top number. Subaru shouted at the desperate report from Al. If the rankings were based on the order of strength, the difference in strength would already seem hopeless. Since Yoruna is a Arashi, Subaru's distress is understandable. Abel, don't scream at me. A broken bar. Perhaps, but Orville has not joined their ranks. As of now, he's just following the Emperor's orders as the 9 divine generals. Natsumi, a broken bar. What is the basis for that? Abel, because Orbold Dunklicken is also a man who can't readily see how things will work. If you want to move a situation, you have to get the winning strategy right. Arakia could have been moved by that, but it would not be easy to confine Orbold. Natsumi, after all, aren't you saying that you can't control the 9 divine generals at all? A broken bar. In other words, since he was the one who couldn't hold the reins, the shadow warrior who took his place couldn't hold the reins either, or so the story goes. I don't think I can be happy about it, and it makes me feel uneasy about the future. Natsumi, so, is there there any room for this old man Orpold to be an ally? Abel, of course, we need the right ingredients to get him to the negotiating table. He's also a cunning old man who can't eat. As soon as the situation becomes clearer, he can weigh which side to take. Natsumi, a broken bar. Oh, by the way, he knew Al. How do you two get along? Subaru thinks that Al is the most likely person to ask for room to negotiate with Olbolt. The conversation between Al and Olbolt in the castle tower revealed that possibility. Natsumi, the isolated island of Kenyu, was it? I heard that you played a role in solving the incident that happened there. A broken bar. Al. Oh, yeah, there's nothing much to add, though, is there? 8 years ago, when I was still a swordsman in Wallachia, I was caught up in a rebellion on an island. The swordsman on the island took a senior count who was watching the fight to the death hostage and demanded that he be released. Natsumi, that sounds like a big deal. A broken bar. And Al did it? Al, well, technically, it was me and Miss Arikia when she was still alive, and the senior count who was supposedly being held hostage. A broken bar. I'll get to the details of that in due course. Al scratched his neck awkwardly, muddling the second half of the story. It was apparently something that was hard to talk about, but without the hidden details, he could probably get the gist of it. Al had solved the incident in the Empire, and he had asked for a reward for his achievement over the past 8 years. It had allowed Subaru and the others to fulfill their purpose and pick up their lives. Natsumi, you're glad you took the chance, aren't you? Al, I don't think we had a chance to use it anywhere but there. To be honest, I didn't think it would turn out to be such a grand foreshadowing either, thanks to my apathy at the time. Laughing cheerfully, Al didn't seem to want to make Subaru feel any better. Subaru was grateful for his concern, and Abel nodded his head in agreement. Abel plucked the chin of his demon mask and gently turned it around to expose his bare face to Al. Abel, I had heard that there was a swordsman who worked on the isolated island of swordsmen during the disturbances immediately after his accession. I also heard that he didn't ask for a reward. A broken bar. So that's you, clown. Al, it seems to have been. I'm more surprised that it reached the Emperor's ears and that he was able to remember it. I'm sure he remembers all the little things we say during our travels. Abel, it was a great deed. I will reward you for your service, no matter what happens. Al, oh, a broken bar. Abel's words were grave and adorned with an unmovable sincerity. It's Abel's greed of trust, reward, or punishment that gives him the look of an emperor once again. Abel's imperialism has no mercy on those who do not seek rewards for their achievements. Al wouldn't get away without a reward this time either. Abel, no matter, now that the letter has been handed over, we have to wait for tomorrow's response. Natsumi, that's true, I suppose. There's nothing more we can do from here. A broken bar. In the meantime, Your Honor-san's attendant child has told me that she won't let the fake Emperor's group get to us either. Abel, well, if that's what Your Honor said, there's no doubt about it. Abel accepted without hesitation the assurances of safety that Dancer had given him. It seemed that there was something hidden that Abel hadn't told him yet, something that Subaru and the others didn't know. Yuta Natsumi, if I tell you to let me speak. A broken bar. Abel, I'm the one who chooses what information to give you. The only information you will ever know is what you are comfortable with knowing. At least for the time being. Natsumi, for the time being. A broken bar. For a moment, Subaru's tone reverted to the bare minimum, and he admonished himself for the discord that had arisen in his heart. It would be easy to dismiss Abel's behavior as uncooperative. Abel does not want to be defeated, but he is doing his best, just as Subaru is doing his best. Abel is doing his best, just not in the same way that Subaru is doing his best. Al, so, that's it for today, then? Fortunately, I was able to save my life and save it for tomorrow. Fortunately, and I also thwarted your opponent same, so I'd say we did pretty well. Al said loudly, breaking the delicate atmosphere between Subaru and Abel. Taking this into consideration, Subaru nodded and said, I guess so. Despite the irregularities, thanks to Al and Medium, we were able to make the best first step to conquer Your Honor Monsieur. Now we have to wait for the response from Your Honor tomorrow. Natsumi, a broken bar as expected. I'm really tired. As soon as I concluded that there was nothing I could do today, my body became heavy. I guess the tension had dissipated and my body became aware of the fatigue. He had to go to the castle right after his long journey, and then he had to encounter the fake Emperor and his party, and then he had to see Your Honor, the last big event. His right arm was sore from the strain he had put on it, and he also had to take care of his whip, which he had used quite recklessly after a big day at work. It's important to maintain your body and your tools. Natsumi, however, I'm sleepy. A broken bar. Holding his wobbly head, Subaru muttered this with a dazed consciousness. Seeing Subaru's condition, Talitha propped him up on her shoulder. Natsumi, she said. Talitha, after your important duties, I will take care of your armor, so please rest early today. I'll take care of the night raids. Natsumi, vigilance against night raids in the city, that's so out of this world. A broken bar. With a small smile at Talitha's concern, Subaru decided to take her word for it. Exhaling deeply, he went to his assigned room. Only, when he dosed Louis, woo, Natsumi, it's you again. A broken bar. Louis, who was supposed to be quarantined in the next room, jumped at Subaru as if she had been waiting for him, and Subaru held his head in disgust as Louis grabbed his arm. If it were not for Louis, he would not have minded the childish pleas for attention. But when it's Louis, it's hard to let your guard down, especially when you're tired. Subaru silently puts his finger on Louis' forehead and flicks it against her white forehead, causing her to ooh and ah. Natsumi, I don't have time to worry about you. Now, please step aside. Louis, Medium. Oh, you're out of bed again. Sorry, Natsumi-chan, but Louis-chan is over here. You're with me. Louis' body, clutching his forehead, is carried by Medium's arms stretching out from behind her. Louis continued to flap her legs, struggling to jump onto Subaru. The figure disappeared behind the door again, and this time Louis misdeeds and did here. Natsumi, what is it with you and a broken bar? Al, she was even more obsessed with Bro again. Isn't that it? Even if he doesn't follow the story, He feels that bro almost died. Natsumi, if Al's point is true, then Louis' attitude is that she's worried about Subaru. It was hard for Subaru to admit that, emotionally, Louis is acting like an innocent child, but underneath lies an evil and unforgivable malice. It is the basic premise of Subaru's relationship with Louis that he stubbornly continues to believe this. Natsumi, Abel, I'm going to rest in my room. You can go to a broken bar. Abel, leave it. Your presence will not be of much use in a crisis. Natsumi, don't leave it to Talitha-san. You should be on the lookout for raids all night. The reply was unworthy of concern, so Subaru replied with a snide remark. I'm sorry to say that Talitha, who's in the middle of all this, is in a bit of a panic, but for the time being, I'm done with my resting. Natsumi, I'm going to take off my makeup, loosen my clothes, and sleep like a broken bar. Mud. Returning to the room he had been assigned, Subaru undressed in women's clothing, bobbing his head back and forth. Now that he had left the village of Shadra, the wig could not be easily repaired. They need to be carefully cared for and used, so the process is very careful. I washed the wigs in a fine mesh net, and carefully washed my clothes and shoes after removing them. After the minimal treatment, Subaru fell into bed. Closing his eyes, he slowly drifted in and out of consciousness. Subaru, tomorrow, when a broken bar, the situation moves again. If the situation changes, what you see will change. If what you see changes, a path will open. If the path is opened, we can get closer to our goal. That's where everyone who is separated from us is. Subaru, Rem, Iko a broken bar, Remelier, Tana broken bar with a twinge of pain in his heart. Subaru called out the name of his beloved in a foreign land. As he dreamed of his beloved's name and reunion, his consciousness faded. Subaru. Slowly, his consciousness woke up, and Subaru opened his eyelids on his bunk. He was not usually a good sleeper, but last night he was tired and slept well. I slept so deeply that I don't even remember having a dream. I think that took a lot of the fatigue out of my body. Beat a broken bar. Subaru. What? But it wasn't enough sleep that woke Subaru up. It was a noisy presence in the bedroom where Subaru slept. There was some kind of buzzing voice and presence coming from the other side of the door. It served as an alarm and pulled Subaru out of sleep. The noisy atmosphere upon awakening was not a good sign. Outside the window, the morning sun was leaking through the closed curtains, indicating that it was a little too early in the morning. Feeling the already noisy air of the magical city, Subaru looked at the wig that was drying in the shade, and couldn't decide what to do. Considering what he had done so far, he should dress as a woman like Natsumi Schwartz. However, there was no time for cross-dressing if the situation on the other side of the door was dire. After a moment's consideration, I decided that the first priority was to find out what was going on in the first place. There's always the possibility that I'm making a hasty decision. If it was a big deal, Al, Medium, Talitha, or someone other than Abel would have made a Subaru. So broken bar. Subaru. With that thought in mind, Subaru tried to get out of bed, but fell shoulder first to the floor. Sparks flew in front of his eyes at the impact, and he was astonished at what had happened to him. It wasn't that he was sick or that he had stepped on the clothes he had taken off. It was just that his foot swung across the floor as if he had misjudged it. Subaru's feet did not reach the distance from the bed to the floor. Subaru. That's ridiculous. A broken bar. Subaru also has the problem that he is short-legged, but not to the point that it interferes with his daily life in any way. Even with his short legs, he has been with his body for 18 years. As I sit up, I realize that there is no way I could have messed up. As I sit up, I notice that everything in the room looks strangely bigger than it did last night. Subaru. Hey, what a joke. This is a broken bar. His cheeks tense and his voice trembling. Subaru flattens his face. He crawled away, his arms and legs clutched by his bulky clothes. Gasping at the noise of his heart, Subaru went straight to the mirror in his bag. He looked at his reflection in the mirror, which was indispensable for fixing his makeup and getting ready for the day, and saw what had happened. Subaru. What the hell? This is a broken bar. Subaru muttered in dismay when he saw his reflection in the mirror. The mirror trembled in his hands, and the reflection was none other than Natsuki Subaru. However, Subaru. But what was there was a young Natsuki Subaru boy, nearly 10 years younger,